Well, did you know NASA is preparing to send astronauts back to the moon for the first time in a half century? The Artemis 2 mission is set to launch by next February. We'll hear with more on this new chapter of lunar exploration is Dr. Joe Carson, physics and astronomy professor at the College of Charleston. Welcome back.
Thank you.
Love talking about space with you and science, and I learn so much every time you come on this program. This is a momentous occasion, sending astronauts back to the moon. It feels like we've been talking about the Apollo mission for so many years, and now we're almost breathing new life into it.
Well, it's hard to believe. I mean, the last time humans were on the moon was the Apollo 17 mission, all the way back in 1972. Wow. So it's hard to believe. I mean, just the amount of time that's passed since that last mission, it's really hard to believe that it makes this a momentous event.
Let me just ask you this. Why do you think it took all these years to go back?
I mean, I don't have a perfect answer to that. I certainly think, there's sort of political wins and like public wins that after people had been there, maybe there wasn't as much, like public support for it after they've been there, done that.
Time. People get jaded so easily.
Yeah, it's true. It's true, though. I mean, and NASA's a public organization, so they have to be aware of those sentiments.
So why is this mission so important today?
So we're going back to the moon, and this mission is actually, this particular mission, they're not landing. They're doing a flyby of the moon. So the idea is that this upcoming one, there'll be astronauts, and they're going to be going to the vicinity of the moon. So we still consider them they'll be at the moon,
right.
And they'll fly by the dark side of the moon. And then in 2027, there'll be a follow-up mission, the Artemis 3 mission, and that will actually be a lander where astronauts will land actually on the south pole of the moon, where human beings have never visited before.
What do they expect to see on the south pole?
It's mainly the South Pole. A lot of the geology of the moon has been shaped by the meteorites that have hit it.
All the craters.
Right.
Yeah.
So the South Pole has, partly because of that and partly because it's natural geology, has a different history. And we often study the geology of the moon partly to understand the history of Earth, because it's a well-preserved record of things like meteorite impacts that have hit Earth, because Earth has changed so much you can't see, it's not easy to see records of all the meteorites that have hit Earth. But if you look at the geology of the moon, which is not a changing environment, it acts sort of like a mirror of all of the sort of debris and tumultuous events that happened in our region of the solar system over time.
Do you think the moon has absorbed more impact from these meteors than Earth has, or because you say the environment doesn't really change, that maybe you can just see it better?
Yeah, so we think the reason why it's valuable, so we think the same number of meteorites hit a square mile of land on the moon as hit on Earth. But when you look at Earth, you don't see that very often other than a few meteorites. And you look at the moon, and it's covered with what looks like bullet holes all over the place, which meant that the Earth, things were getting hurled at Earth all the time, particularly early in its history. At the same time, life was most likely developing on Earth. There were these rocks that were slamming into Earth, sometimes enough to cause mass extinctions. So when we look at the moon, it tells us about Earth in a way that we can't know it just by looking at Earth.
Right. I tend to go tangential when we have these conversations, because now you're jogging something else I wanted to ask you. But what about that Manhattan size? What is it, an asteroid that was hurling towards Earth? So is there going to be an impact, or is it going to miss us? Keeps changing.
Yeah. So part of it is tracking down the orbits of these objects. I mean, one of NASA's major efforts is just to understand exactly the trajectory of these objects, particularly if they're a little bit further out.
Yeah, how far is this one from Earth?
I don't recall the distance that this one is.
Far enough away that we don't have to worry about it today?
We certainly don't have to worry about it today, and it's not, most of the predictions say that it's not expected to, I shouldn't say most, it's not expected to hit Earth.
All right, well, going back to the moon before we wrap up. So why is this going to be a flyby mission rather than actually landing on the moon and then just holding that off until the following year?
NASA likes to do things incrementally. They always like to do demonstrations, so make sure that this really works. So the first thing is, let's be absolutely sure that we can get astronauts to the vicinity of the moon and back again. so that they can land back on Earth and everything goes smoothly. Because a lander is a much more complicated mission. So the idea is once they demonstrate that, then they can go to the next stage and actually land on the moon itself. And we see today, launching a rocket is never easy.
No, no, it's true.
In
Things
a
can always
sense,
go wrong.
you're igniting a massive stick of dynamite. And so it's not trivial to do those things. Even though we know a lot more about it than we do back in the 70s, you're still dealing with, you know, massive explosions, incredibly high speeds, very, very precise orbital trajectories, which is a testament to how amazing it was that they did it back then without the benefit of computers and things like that.
That is
just
true.
really smart people.
Well, knowing how enthusiastic everyone was the world over watching that first mission, you know, I hope to see that again in people today, that they're just as excited today as they were then.
I hope so too.
Well, thank you so much, Dr. Carson. We'll be back after this.